Hey, it's Debbie, and I am in my glass house recording today, and the sun is shining. I can't get rid of it. There's windows around. So if you're watching the video, I look goofy wearing my hat, but it's keeping my sunshine out of my eyes, and I'm on a mission to improve my under eyes, and that's part of it is keeping more hats on my head and eyes out of the sun. So let's dive into the rest of oxidative stress. So wanted to touch on what we didn't get to the first part of the episode, oxidative stress. We talked last time about the role of functional nutrition, excess inflammation, and oxidative stress. And this is really important part of improving the aging process. As you are fit and active, we want to make sure we're running nutritional therapy assessment, looking at how you're feeling, signs and symptoms, and looking at any alterations to the microbiome. How's your stress system? HPA is hypothalamus pituitary to adrenal function, or the HP to gonads. So we have this communication system in our body. And if we have overtraining, if we have too much of anything, we get often chronic stress mode. Chronic stress mode leads to HPA axis dysfunction. And when that's dysfunction, we have imbalance of catabolic and anabolic, and metabolic chaos is end result of everything happening, breaking down, domino effect. So multiple factors here we want to look at. So functional labs to help improve athletic performance is what I've gotten into over the years. Test and not guess, as you hear me say all the time. Functional nutrition approach to improve athletic performance. Nutrition for optimal athletic performance, proper digestion, what supplements, herbal remedies we need to look at. And most people are over supplementing that I work with. So we want to make sure we do a supplement audit and go, what do you really need right now? What do you need to prioritize? What are you not getting out of your food? Maybe you just need to eat better choices of what you eat with digestive enzymes and break down the protein, fat, and the protein or the carbohydrates. So, and omega fish oil, we've talked a lot about when we talk about inflammation. So I want to go into oxidative stress, acute stress versus chronic stress, chronic inflammation. So we have chronic inflammation, and anything in excess, especially as excess exercise, too much of anything, I think can lead to negative health consequences. So a chronic inflammation is a state of prolonged immune system activation, which can be obviously detrimental to your health, and it's associated with various diseases, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, certain cancers. Now, moderate exercise is linked to reduce inflammation. But a lot of us endurance athletes don't know the word moderate. How much is the right amount to create positive, effective response in your body? So if you have excessive exercise, then we're talking something else. So then we can decrease the level of pro-inflammatory markers with the right amount of exercise as your CRP marker, interleukin-6, and increasing anti-inflammatory markers, interleukin-10. On the flip side, excessive or intense exercise without proper recovery, this is a lot of us. What happens if you don't recover properly? If you keep doing that each day, chronic inflammation. So prolonged high-intensity workouts may cause tissue damage, oxidative stress, and immune system dysregulation, resulting in increased inflammation. So if you're not feeling your best, you're not recovering from your workouts. We talked about that in the previous video I just recorded. The impact on the immune system, impact on gut health, all these different markers we talk about overtraining and leading to too much oxidative stress. What is oxidative stress? It is the condition leading to dysfunction if we have too much. So an imbalance between the production of free radicals and the body's ability to neutralize them with antioxidants. Free radicals, or we talk about ROS, reactive oxygen species, are highly reactive molecules with one or more unpaired electrons formed when oxygen interacts with specific molecules. They serve bodily functions, including cellular signaling, fight off pathogens. Really important. I got a pathogen when I was training for World Championship in Ironman, half Ironmans. Antioxidants scavenge and neutralize free radicals to maintain cellular balance. But when we have excessive production of free radicals, or the antioxidant systems are overwhelmed, we have a backlog and an imbalance ensues, giving rise to oxidative stress. Free radicals can trigger reactions, including lipid peroxidation, protein oxidation, and the DNA damage, compromising cellular structures and functions. So, as cells experience accumulative damage from reactive oxygen species, or the ROS, they undergo cellular senescence. You might have heard that in different podcasts. This is a process which cells undergo irreversible growth arrest. This contributes to the aging process by impairing cellular function and promoting the secretion of pro-inflammatory molecules. We don't want pro-inflammatory all the time. Oxidative stress also plays a central role in the pathogenesis of various NCDs, contributing to their initiation, progression, and complications. Cardiovascular disease, oxidative stress promotes epithelial dysfunction, lipid peroxidation, inflammation, and all critical factors in the development of atherosclerosis, chronic, all these other diseases. So you can see more how we can create damage, even though we're trying to be fit and active. So what is the right amount of exercise? What is the right nutrition protocol for you? We want to look at those genetic markers too, and I'll share that in a next episode when I go over my Wild Health Precision Medicine genomics report called Clarity, where they combine my blood chemistry panel and my genetics to give me suggestions. Then I'm going to compare that to the DNA company report I have from last year. So stay tuned for that. Now, what are common causes of oxidative stress? Free radicals, this article says, can arise from sources within the body as well as from external sources. So endogenous versus exogenous. So internal, external. Specific cellular processes naturally produce free radicals as byproducts. For instance, the electron transport chain in the mitochondria, the process which cells generate energy to create ADP from ATP. We need to get our ATP right, especially as we're athletes, we need to get more energy. So immune cells also release ROS to combat pathogens and more. So how do you know if you have high levels of oxidative stress? So we have several methods that we can use oxidative stress markers. So one test we can do is oxidative stress 2.0 by Genova Diagnostics. It's a urine test measuring metabolites. So you can see that on Ruba Health, where we order labs, or through our FDN practitioner program. We have a list of labs as well. You can check out all these articles on rupahealth.com to learn more. Advanced oxidative stress markers, a different lab company called Precision Point, and then a full cellular nutrition assessment we can look at as well. The redox antioxidant protection. So there's all sorts of different labs. You don't need everything. We just need to look at what are your signs and symptoms? What are you struggling with? What are your goals? Maybe an organic acid test is good. That's what we've done for a while. Another test that's helpful to combine that with organic acids is micronutrients test. And that's going to measure 31 vitamins, minerals, and more, as vitamin E, vitamin C, selenium, glutathione play important roles in antioxidants. So low levels can increase the risk of oxidative stress. So we want to look at that and manage it. Manage oxidative stress with nutrition, getting rid of excess bad fats, refined sugars, refined flours, excess of processed foods, I would say more. Looking at more Mediterranean diet. For some people, really making sure you're getting the right amount of anti-inflammatory foods. So you can read more on that. And then, of course, we've got stress, exercise, and if you need supplement antioxidants as glutathione or the precursors to glutathione, getting them from your food first, but also looking at supplementation if you need more. So several foods that contain glutathione, NAC, and cysteine: asparagus, avocado, cucumber, green beans, spinach. But spinach, I keep finding, has too many pros and cons. You gotta not have something every day, but there's too much of something isn't good either. So don't have spinach in your smoothie every day. And NAC serves as a precursor for glutathione, and sometimes that helps some people more so. CoQ10, another good one to help as a cofactor for energy production mitochondria. So I don't want to say this and get a ton of supplements, because most of you probably can get this from your food if you add in some slow, mindful eating habits, digesting your food, not rushing, not multitasking, being more present when you eat, and also taking a good digestive enzyme to break everything down properly, as well as chewing more. And as I said, eating slowly. But CoQ10 foods are meat, fish, nuts, seeds or nuts, and soybeans, non-GMO. And getting enough CoQ10 through a balanced diet, food plan, but supplementation may be needed for some people, especially if you have cardiovascular disease, diabetes. But I looked at my genetics. I need a little more antioxidants. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble antioxidant, helps protect cell membranes from oxidative damage. Where can you get vitamin E? Natural occurring vitamin E, 8 chemicals, forms of it. And we want to look at nuts and seeds, best sources. Vitamin E supplements are often in some other combined supplements. Vitamin E can help inhibit formation of oxidized low-density LDL. We know it does, cholesterol and blood clots. Vitamin C, selenium, and more. So those are some markers we'd look at, but also make sure we're getting that through our food. Okay, so go back to acute versus chronic inflammation. Overtraining syndrome, we talked about last 2 videos. Individuality, looking at genetics, your training history, nutrition, your stressors. That's going to make a difference. And looking at your workout schedule. Are you recovering from your workouts? Chronic inflammation associated with excess exercise, and a lot of us do too much. How do you know when it's too much? Looking at those biometrics, heart rate variability score, listen to your body. For example, today, our HRV really dropped low. I didn't get enough deep sleep, and my workout on the bike today was crappy. So I cut it short and came back and ate food and had the sauna session, and just need to figure out proper nutrition the day before, as I was busy watching Oceanside race and didn't eat enough after my long run I did during the race, and looking at enough sleep and sleep quality hygiene kind of gets messed up on a weekend. So chronic inflammation we want to avoid. So read more: health, fat loss, performance recovery, markers, metabolic health, aging. Chronic inflammation is considered a hallmark of aging, and that's why we're not going to accept that, right? We're going to not accelerate cellular aging. We don't want to have excess tissue damage and increased risk of disease. We want to be metabolic healthy. As we know, chronic inflammation is closely linked to metabolic issues as insulin resistance and more. So you can read all that. Now, what can you do on your blood chemistry panel? your CRP you can get. You can ask your doctor. If not, go to Ulta Labs. You can order all this. Interleukin 6, homocysteine is a good one. We do in Wild Health. I think it was under 7. Oxidative stress markers. You can look at those as different ones we talked about in the Rupa health test. Gut health markers. Look for leaky gut, zonulin, dysbiosis in a stool test. Get rid of that bad bacteria and get more of the good bacteria. And we can see other inflammation in your gut with the fecal calprotectin is a big one. I see elevated in a lot of clients with chronic inflammation in their gut. So that's a big one. I always think that a stool test. Autoimmune markers, antibodies against specific tissues or antigens. Identifying those in lab tests too will help identify autoimmune processes contributing to chronic inflammation. And then again, nutrition. Assessing levels of antioxidants, your vitamin C, E, glutathione, and essential nutrients as vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids helps us make sure we're managing inflammation, oxidative stress. So looking at if your workout is causing part of this inflammation in your body. So when you're exercising, maybe you're decreasing blood flow to the gut. Intense exercise generates reactive oxygen species, ROS, and free radicals, leading to oxidative stress. Excessive oxidative stress can, of course, damage cells and tissues and include damaging the lining, cells lining our gut. This damage may distribute the integrity of the intestinal barrier, which is leaky gut, right? So also, we have this release of inflammatory cytokines, endurance exercise, and working out at high intensity and long durations can trigger the release of inflammatory cytokines. These cytokines, as interleukin 6 and TNF alpha, may contribute to gut inflammation and compromise gut barrier function, leaky gut. Chronic elevation of these cytokines due to repeated intense exercise sessions could cause gut dysfunction over time. Big one. Alterations in the microbiome. Endurance exercise can influence the composition and diversity of the gut microbiome, while regular exercise is generally associated with healthier gut microbiome. But extreme prolonged exercise, as many of you endurance athletes, this is, I think, what is part of the problem we have. A lot of people don't look very lean and flat bellies that work out a lot, right? You see people at races, they're not lean and strong. Often I see more belly issues, belly fat. So it's not necessarily eating too much, might be what they're eating, but also this excess exercise and not taking care of our health from the inside out. So dysbiosis, imbalance in gut microbes, has also been linked to leaky gut and inflammation. So changes in tight junction proteins, that is another problem related from exercise and leads to compromised gut health, compromised leaky gut wall lining, and then we've got chronic inflammation. So intestinal epithelial cells are held together by tight junction proteins, which regulate the permeability of the intestinal barrier. Think of those gates around your fortress, your castle. Endurance exercise, especially when combined with other factors like oxidative stress, inflammation, may disrupt expression or function of these tight junction proteins. This disruption can lead to loosening of the tight junctions, allowing for unwanted substances to pass through the intestinal barrier into the bloodstream. So if that's happening all the time, exercise-induced gut dysfunction, and leaky gut for the endurance athletes can be an issue. As well as we always want to look at your genetics, as we will with mine, hydration status, getting LMNT or different electrolytes you like, Redmond's real salt on your food, training history, track your biometrics, and if you're more susceptible to gut issues during and after exercise. So what do we do about it? Here's how it happens. How does exercise create oxidative stress? through increased oxygen consumption when you're exercising. What happens? I wrote that out if you want to geek out down that rabbit hole. Increased oxygen consumption, mitochondria respiration, activation of phagocytes. Exercise can stimulate the activation of immune cells, neutrophils, macrophages. You can read about that. ROS production. Impact on red blood cells, membrane damage, hemoglobin oxidation. So it sounds like a lot, but it's looking at the why, how much exercise, how much can I tolerate without causing more damage? So are your workouts creating oxidative stress? To summarize, oxidative stress is a physiological condition that occurs when there's an imbalance between the production of ROS, reactive oxygen species, and the body's ability to detoxify them or repair them from resulting damage. Reactive oxygen species are highly reactive molecules that contain oxygen, such as superoxide, O2 minus, and O2OH, radical, hydroxyl radical, and hydrogen peroxide. These molecules are natural byproducts of cellular metabolism, play a central role in cell signaling and homeostasis. But focus is excessive of anything, too much of anything doesn't always create positive results. Excessive ROS production can lead to cellular damage, including oxidative damage to proteins, lipids, DNA, which can contribute to various diseases in the aging process. So if you're trying to be a fit and active aging athlete, and you're exercising a lot, and you've been doing endurance work for a long time and still racing a lot, you may want to make sure you're adding in some recovery weeks, deload week, getting the right supplementation, getting microbiome, blood chemistry panel, and micronutrient tests probably, ideally every 6 months, 4 to 6 months. So lots more down that rabbit hole, but how much is too much? It can be challenging because we're all different. So working with your coach and figuring out signs and symptoms of overtraining, under recovery, looking at your biometrics, tracking your heart rate variability, see if there's big changes there, getting measurement of those different markers, as we said, CRP, and making sure we don't have too much oxidative damage. What supplements you're taking, make sure they have purpose, and more. What can you do about it? I think it's individualized. So looking at if you need antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, ALA, glutathione, or the precursors, NAC, liposomal glutathione is great. CoQ10 is a vital component of that electron transport chain in the mitochondria and acts as an antioxidant. So CoQ10 can help enhance mitochondrial function and reduce oxidative stress found in meat, fish, and we don't want whole grains. It came on that list. So don't do whole grains, especially in North America. Go for the meat and the fish. Now, polyphenols are found in red wine, but we don't need alcohol to get them. We can get grapes and berries. Resveratrol has antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties that help reduce oxidative stress and improve cardiovascular health. But this is where resveratrol in a supplement form is probably better than taking in 10 glasses of red wine a night. Maybe think about it. So curcumin is another good one. That's active compound in turmeric. So using turmeric to make it more absorbable if you need that. There's 2 different types. Curcumin for purposes, Dr. William Davis talks about curcumin by itself to help the microbiome mucosal barrier. But if you want for anti-inflammatory in the body, systemic, you might want the curcumin turmeric with the black pepper to help it absorb. Then we've got, of course, hopefully you're taking omega-3 fatty acid supplementation, and that really can help reduce inflammation, those inflammatory markers, and reduce oxidative stress. So I use Kion. They have great omegas, and I've been doing morning and evening, 3 of them. So trying to get like 5 grams a day because I feel a little more inflamed. So 3 to 5 grams probiotics. I'm making my yogurt, get that 36-hour fermented way to deliver your probiotics through the yogurt, as I talked about in the podcast with Dr. William Davis. Then let's look at genetics. So I always am curious on my genetic markers and how my excessive exercise broke me down more than other people. As I said in my book, Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey, I was doing a lot of racing and training, and my job was active because I own my own fitness studio, that other people can tolerate that level of exercise, and I did not. So I'm good at endurance. That's what I like to do, but I think I need more recovery time. So we've got SOD2, SNP, CAT, GPX, GSTP1, NRF2, APEX. So there's different ones listed as examples, how these genetic markers may impact your tolerance of oxidative stress. So endurance exercise, intense exercise on oxidative stress, you can go into that. Excessive exercise versus moderate exercise. And if you have moderate endurance exercise versus excessive, we can compare that on chronic inflammation, gut health, leaky gut, microbiome diversity. And then look at solutions. Let's look at balancing your exercise routine. Let's work on gradual progression, building up, and then recovery, deload every 3 weeks. Nutrient-rich diet, hydration with minerals, getting those electrolytes in your water, antioxidants if you're not getting enough through your food, or if you have genetic SNPs as myself that I need to supplement, as well as get them through my diet. So anti-inflammatory foods as fatty fish, the smashed fish diet, turmeric, ginger, garlic, berries, nuts, and seeds help reduce inflammation, support recovery from exercise-induced stress. Proper nutrition, nutrient timing more so, when to eat before and around exercise to improve performance and avoid gut damage. I like S fuels, train on my long bike rides. Having that glutamine in there is helpful. Getting gut health support. Fermented foods is the super gut yogurt, high probiotics, not the kind in the store. You have to make it yourself. Kefir, sauerkraut, prebiotic rich foods that help fertilize your garden, so to speak, for your gut. So the prebiotics help your good bacteria, giving them the nutrients they need to help grow and multiply. Onions, garlic, leeks, and green bananas. These foods help nourish that beneficial gut bacteria and support the intestinal barrier function. So lots of rabbit holes to go down on that microbiome research. And short chain fatty acids and butyrate production we're going to go into coming up too. Stress management, really important. Getting that stress reduction, mindfulness meditation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, sleepy time yoga at nighttime helps your sleep, getting in that parasympathetic state. And then regular monitoring. Just make sure you're avoiding signs of overtraining, fatigue, your moods, your poop. Motility will help you give some information, changes in your gut health and digestion, and making sure you're not doing too much of anything. So excessive exercise is not always beneficial. Moderate exercise is good, but a lot of us athletes doing ultras and Ironmans and long distance stuff, cycling, whatever, running, you're just getting more than the moderate amount that's beneficial. We're doing excessive, that's not too great. So if you're going more than 45 minutes, I say you're doing excessive, too much every day. So we want to prioritize health and improve the aging process. We want to look at really how to be health optimizers and prevent this stuff from happening. Don't wait until you have issues is my goal. People want to wait until they have problems rather than getting these red flags now. So getting the right type of food. We'll go into fiber because I think people think fiber is oats and wheats and wheat grains, but I'm looking at all other types of fiber. So getting more fiber that doesn't have grains, gluten-free, lectin-free, phytate-free. Then we're looking at all these different ones. Hickory root, garlic, onions, asparagus, radishes, cabbage, dandelion greens. That's what I like to look at, not getting the whole grains that are suggested. Nuts and seeds aren't great for some people. And vegetables, celery, cucumbers, bell peppers aren't good for a lot of people either for those fiber, insoluble fiber. And then for gut health, we want insoluble and soluble fiber, but I think it gets questionable of what source of fiber. I'm not a fan of oats and barley, not a fan of legumes for most people. Fruits is apples, berries, oranges might be okay. That gives me a headache. Vegetables is carrots, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. Nuts and seeds are okay for some people, but not for everyone. Flax seeds, chia seeds might be irritant on your gut wall lining if damaged. And then root vegetables. So I would cut out these for most people and focus on these other sources. Dietary fiber, yeah, like spinach, we get too much of. So what I did is looked at, okay, what are this list? Prebiotic fibers that don't have lectins, phytates, oxalates. What else can we do? And that was the list I got. And then we look at polyphenols, and then omega-3 fatty acids, and avoiding fats as trans fats. Saturated fats we have to limit. For some people who have genetic markers, as myself, not too much, but the right amount, not sugar, obviously, and more. So lots of rabbit holes, but I think really looking at what works best for you is individualized, because if you have some gut issues, some of these foods might not work for you. So it's really not one size fits all. It gets confusing. All right, so there's a few more rabbit holes for you today. Thanks for listening to my curious mind, thoughts, and rabbit hole blogs for our vlog on how to be fit and healthy from the inside out.